Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining our Lunch and Launch. This is part of our League Apps learning series, and today we're going to be focusing on some very important topics to all of us, how we can return to play safely, how we can re-engage with our communities, and some things that you should be considering along that journey. So I'll start by introducing myself. My name is Taylor Collins. If you could slide me, Nate. Thank you. And I'm the senior manager of customer success here at League Apps. I've been at League Apps for 4 years, a little over 4 years, and this is my 7th year in kind of the customer success field. I currently live in New York, New York with my wife of 7 years, Jillian. That's us two in India in 2019, back when we could still travel without fear. And a fun fact about me, during the pandemic, actually rekindled an old hobby of building model cars, mainly European and Japanese cars. And now I'd like to introduce you to my colleague, Nate Baldwin. I'll let him say a couple words about himself.
Yeah, hi, everybody. My name is Nate Baldwin. I'm a 20-year program administrator in community sports, both in the adult recreation space as well as the youth sports space. Interestingly, I'm a 10-year League Apps user myself as an administrator, and I'm currently a customer success manager here at League Apps. Been here since the summer of 2020. Currently, I live in Appleton, Wisconsin. I see a picture there of my wife and 3 boys. We like to get outdoors, obviously, a lot and see everything that Wisconsin has to offer. Fun fact about me is having lived in Denver, Colorado for over 10 years, I've actually summited 14,000 foot mountains. So I'm actually looking forward to possibly getting back there this summer with my older boys to do another one now that I'm no longer acclimated to the altitude. We'll see how that goes. But that's a little bit about me. Um, Today we're going to be talking about returning to play after a long break, a long pause due to the COVID pandemic. We're going to be hitting on a few big topics. We're going to be talking about how to consider alternate revenue streams for your organization. We're going to talk a little bit about developing new partnerships, and then get into some of the more operational things like setting your pricing, and then how to leverage the tools in League Apps to help you do that. So the first thing we're going to talk about is considering alternative revenue streams for your organization. I think one thing that the pandemic has really done to many organizations, it's caused us to take an undesired break and kind of break up the momentum that any of us might have had. And so returning from that is a challenge in a lot of different ways. And one of those things is really just restarting the revenue stream for your organization. But it's also an opportunity to consider what your revenue streams are and get creative and really try to diversify the streams of revenue that are coming into your organization and make you more resilient. So a couple of things you can be thinking about here. First is how you could potentially serve a new audience. For many of us, there is a particular audience that's right in our wheelhouse. It's the age group that we feel most comfortable with, the ability level that we feel most comfortable catering to, and a particular commitment level that our members are used to providing us with. This is really a good time to think about serving a new audience. Think about other age groups. Is there a younger age group you could potentially serve that will help feed the longevity of your organization? If you are used to serving a particular ability level, an intermediate or advanced ability level, can you offer programs that cater to beginners? Can you consider different cost platforms and lower commitment levels? Can you provide an intro opportunity to people to get a taste of what it is you have to offer before working them into the next level or layer of your program? Another possibility is offer a new sport or activity. If you've been thinking about introducing other sports, other activities, even if they're wildly different than what you've done in the past, now's a perfect time to experiment. This is a great time to trial things, throw things against the wall, see if they stick, see if they capture an audience. This is a great time to do that. Other things are, think about things like selling merchandise. There are things that will complement your brand. There are things that can complement the activities that you're hosting. Merchandise is a pretty common one that people have experimented with, especially emerging from the pandemic. Even timely things like masks and mitigation type of equipment or materials. Those are a great idea, and they help you get your brand out into the ecosystem. A couple examples here on the right-hand side that I wanted to mention. One is Lakeshore Lacrosse, which you'll see in the middle there. They teamed up with a basketball organization to create something called a triple threat camp, where they actually offered a combination of lacrosse training, basketball training, and agility. They found complementary skills that help a child excel in either of those sports. A really interesting collaboration there. And then you see on the right-hand side just an example of merchandise, complementary merchandise that you can brand that helps build your brand. Another idea here emerging from the pandemic is creating new partnerships, developing new partnerships. There is a lot of downstream impact that has occurred from the pandemic. One of those impacts has been on government agencies. And so as you assess your community, your town, the schools, the parks, many of these organizations are literally in budget crisis, and they are open to new program and new revenue models. So you have a real opportunity to partner together here with those types of organizations to fulfill a need that they have for their students, for their spaces, for their community, and also create a revenue stream for yourself. Be able to apply your expertise to serve a need in the community and fulfill needs that multiple organizations might have. So give that some consideration. Reach out to the government agencies in your town. Try to make an assessment about what situation they might be in and whether or not they might be open to partnerships that they may never have been open to in the past. Those are great conversations to be having right now. Think about after school community programs, other sports. There is a significant need and demand for local community-based programs. That need has never been higher. People are very sensitive to travel. They're very sensitive to cost. And a lot of that has been driven by the anxiety of the pandemic. So this is a really good opportunity to refocus on local, refocus on community-based programs, and fulfill a need that is right there in front of you. Last one I'll mention is religious and service delivery organizations. And I bring this up because the availability of field space and facility space has been a real challenge emerging from COVID. Many schools, many park districts are still on restricted access to facility space. So there is a need to get creative if and when you intend on returning to play, to be creative on how you're going to access the facility space you need to host those events. Many religious and service delivery organizations have available space. They have gyms, they have green spaces, they have ball fields, and they have, most importantly, independence over its use. They're not answering necessarily to a school board or a mayor, or some other public entity and how they use that facility space. So that can be an example of how to be creative in terms of identifying the space you're going to need to be able to host your programs. Two quick examples before I turn it over to Taylor here, but one is collaborating. Come Play Detroit is a real good example of collaboration. Come Play Detroit actually shared with us last fall during another webinar that that their organization, they're partnering with nonprofit organizations in their community to run virtual fundraisers for them. So those nonprofit organizations obviously are struggling with revenue, access to new donors. And so Come Play Detroit saw an opportunity to leverage their audience, to leverage their capabilities in terms of hosting programs to serve a need with those nonprofit organizations. And they're collaborating and providing each other with visibility that's beneficial to both of them. Another one is Chicago Sport and Social, one of our large adult rec partners. But they have been exploring the idea of running leagues and events in partnership with schools. And they actually are planning on running some recess and after school programs in the future, or as soon as the school district will allow. But the school district saw an opportunity to partner with an organization that has the capability of providing that type of service. And Chicago Sport and Social saw an opportunity to cater to a market that they may never have considered before. And so that's become a appealing partnership for them as well. Taylor, I'm going to pass it over to you so you can talk about strategic development.
Excellent. Thanks, Nate. So, Nate just provided a wealth of great information there, and now you have to kind of think how you're actually going to implement this, get people to sign up for it, things to consider. So you do need to establish a strategy, of course. Like, you can, of course, decide that you want to move into a different market, different age group, different sports, but how do you actually do that? So the first thing here is you need to consider your client base and the unique situation they're in. Nate referenced this. You might have a lot of people that are eager to get out and play sports. You might have some people that want to but are hesitant because of fears of getting infected, things like that. So you really need to anticipate their needs. And part of that is demand. Like you know your business better than anyone, and you should know which events usually generate the most demand. So what we've seen with some organizations that are reopening is that there's incredible, unbelievable demand for some sports events, things like that. So you can anticipate that and maybe do double the programming in that area instead. You also need to consider things like outdoor versus indoor. You can start to anticipate what's going to make people nervous and what's not, and flex in that regard and be nimble. If any of your experienced League Apps users, you know, and we'll get into this later, how quickly it can be to open a new program. And also, we want you to consider price barriers. If you do have events, programs that are very popular, of course, you can increase the price there if you need to for supply and demand, but you also want to consider those people that are nervous to get out there, nervous to interact with people again. Maybe give them an event that price will definitely not be the barrier to get them to come out and re-engage with the community after the pandemic. So you could have your high demand events, but maybe consider having some cheaper ones that only cost a few dollars, things like that, just to get people out and get them re-engaged and give those people an option so they can go out and see that they can interact with the community safely again. Another thing to consider is your refund and credit policy. I'm sure everyone on the call has struggled with this already, trying to get COVID-19 waivers and things like that. But now that we all have a little bit more experience with this, we can anticipate those situations that you may have to cancel events because of facilities or postpone them, and what to do about that. So getting all that stuff ironed out now, posting those policies on your website so it's clear, leveraging waivers and League Apps is going to make your lives a whole lot easier. And you know, just over communicating with your members, which we'll talk about in the next session, is going to be very important. And then also consider some incentives to get people to come back out. At League Apps, we can do multi-registration discounts for you. We can help you out with that just by emailing our support team. Another idea is limited time discounts. You could say, hey, if you sign up between this date and this date, we're going to give you a certain amount off. So there's a lot of things, creative things you can do in League Apps and otherwise to generate some buzz and get some more demand and get people signing up again. Go ahead and slide me. Excellent. And how League Apps can help in this, you know, setting up your programs in the system, of course, we can help out with that if you do have any questions. But a neat thing, like I mentioned before, is you can duplicate programs very quickly. There's a copy program feature. So if you do have a program that's in high demand, you can have that ready and then know to duplicate it, or you can even have the duplicate program ready to go. That's easily turned on. But another neat thing you can do, like Nate mentioned earlier, is sell merchandise. You can sell that when people are registering through League Apps. You'll see an option here, or an example here on the right, of a soccer ball and socks. It could be a mask and hand sanitizer package. Anything you want, you can sell those things during checkout. You can actually use this product feature to solicit donations during checkout if you want, things like that. So there's a lot of cool stuff you can do in League Apps to drive some additional revenue and also make people feel safe. Say like, hey, don't have a mask, we're going to require a mask. You can buy a little package right here during checkout. It makes it easier for everyone. Also, with pricing, refunds, and credits, you know, there's a lot of incentives you can use in League Apps. You don't have to use one. You can use multiple. It's all up to your preferences, but we can do early bird and late pricing to try and get people to sign up early. I'm sure all of you experience the situation where you've had registration open for a month and everyone signs up in the last 2 days. Establishing early bird pricing will help you anticipate that, especially when there's going to be a lot more planning involved. Limited time discount codes, you can set expiration dates on discounts so they shut off automatically. And of course, credits, you can also award credits to team captains or whoever you want so they can use that toward future registrations. So that's our first topic. I want everyone to stick around for our next topics, which will be reconnecting with your member base. That'll be coming up next. And then after that, relaunching your programs. So stick with us. Appreciate your attention, and we'll see you all back here in just a few minutes.